many years to come. I think we're at a crossroads in many respects. We know that the Democratic leadership and those who would have the Democratic nomination want to lead us down the road of more government and more taxes and more spending. We see that they operate under the proposition that now that people have learned that they got the keys to the Treasury, that they ought to have at it and have everything that they want, and leading us toward the economy example of Western Europe that's worked so well for them. Ironically, just at a time when some Western Europeans are looking more toward the things that made us a great nation. At least, my friends, I think the lines are clear. I think the lines for this next election are going to be very starkly drawn between us and them with regard to those basic philosophies as to what is going to be best for the economic prosperity of this country in the future. But it's not enough for us to know here around Washington that, we've got the right ideas, or anywhere else in this country, or that we've got good policies, or we're going to get together and have a good time every once in a while and talk about things that we believe in. We got to make our case to the American people. I'm reminded in 1994, we were kind of down in the dumps a little bit as a party. Bill Clinton had kicked us pretty good. The things didn't look too rosy. When I decided that I wanted to step up, never having run for political office before, I did so starting 20 points down. Stayed that way for a good while, running against a popular incumbent down in Tennessee, which was a state that Bill Clinton carried twice. But we sensed that there was something going on in the country, I and those like me around the country who were running that year, and we took our case to them. We talked about first principles, the things that made this country great, things that are eternal truths, things that don't change with the changing of the times. We talked about the fact that we got our Declaration of Independence from that, and the system of government that we have, where power is divided, not only at the federal level, but between the federal and the state level. It's called federalism. It's based on the proposition that not all solutions are found in Washington, D.C. It's also based on the notion that a government powerful enough to give everything to you is powerful enough to take anything away from you. All based upon the concept of freedom. All designed to achieve freedom, individual freedom, political freedom, and economic freedom, and the fact that all those things really go together. You can't really have one or two of them. You got to have all three of them together. And we believed and talked about then the necessity for government to be strong enough to protect us, competent enough to do basic government things that government ought to be doing, but limited according to the delineated powers found in the Constitution. Those are the things we talked about. And we based our issues upon those principles. We talked about the rule of law and how important it is to have judges who apply the law and the Constitution and not make it up as they go along, as so often it happens. We talked about the importance of lower taxes and a market economy and competition among free people and a free marketplace, innovation, new ideas, competition with foreign countries, trade, doing the things that made this country great, and not only made for the most prosperous nation in the history of the world, but served as an example to any other country, large or small, who followed that example and how they would get the same results. And it's happened time and time again around the world. Now, I've got this complex economic philosophy that I want to try out on you. It's kind of convoluted, so follow me a little bit. Let's keep doing the things that work and quit doing the things that don't work in this economy. Lower taxes and tax rates that encourage people to get out and work and invest and do the things we say that we want them to do works. It's been proven time and time again. the administration came into office, the recessionary phase was on the way. Then we had the dot-com bubble burst. Then we had the Wall Street scandals. Then we had September 11. All things that could really, really hurt an economy. Put in tax cuts in 2001, tax cuts 2003. People went to work, invested, innovated, created. We've had 22 successive quarters of economic growth in this country. We proved again what was proven back in the 1920s during the Kennedy during the Kennedy administration, during the Reagan administration, and once again in this administration. Unemployment down at the level it used to be considered full employment. Jim Miller can tell you about that. A few years ago, low inflation, good economy, even the deficit as a percentage of our economy is within historical norms. It's not that high. So that's what works. That's what works. We need to move on and learn that lesson and move on from it and take the next lesson. We have the second highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. When talking about corporate taxes, you're not talking about just some fat cat sitting in a back room. You're talking about stockholders. You're talking about workers. You're talking about the need to be competitive in a global economy in order to create those jobs that we all want. We are only one of two nations that hasn't reduced its corporate tax rate since 1994. It should be reduced at least to 28% in this country. And getting back for a moment, this concept of lost revenue on tax cuts, well, look how much revenue the government has lost. Look how much revenue we have lost. When you have tax cuts, the revenue is not lost. The taxpayer knows where it is. It's in his pocket.